Thank you, Donna. Good morning and welcome to another Rotary Club of Nassau Sunrise meeting. Welcome all my Rotarians and guests this morning, and just want to ensure that we have a full house this morning. We have over 26 participants this morning, which is good, and more is coming. Let us start off with a word of prayer, and I would like to invite PAG Karen to give us our invocation for this morning.
Thank you, President Therese. Good morning, fellow Rotarians and guests. O Lord and giver of all good, we thank you for our daily food. May Rotary friends and Rotary ways help us to serve thee all our days. Amen.
Thank you, PAG Karen. And now for the loyal toast, I would like to invite our newest Rotarian, Kendrick, to give us our loyal toast this morning.
Good morning, Rotary Club of Nassau Sunrise. I'd like you to join with me in raising your glasses and your mugs with a toast to the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
To the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Thank you, Kendrick. And to welcome all our visiting Rotarians and guests, I'd like to invite our secretary just to give us a warm welcome for all of our guests and visitors this morning.
Thank you, President Therese, and good morning, Rotary Club of Nassau Sunrise. Thank you all for joining us this morning. I would like to say a special good morning to our guest speaker, Mr. Tim Hodge. Thank you for joining us so early this morning. We look forward to your presentation today. I would like to start by introducing my guest, Ms. Brianne Hebron. She has been visiting with us a few times and is now considering joining our club. So thank you, Brianne, for joining us this morning. We do have a few more visitors, so I'll open the floor to Rotarians to introduce your guests.
Good morning, Secretary Akima. I believe I saw Rotarian Herbert on the call. I'm not sure if he's still on, but he's visiting from another club, Herbert Edwards.
Okay. Yes, I saw the name, but I wasn't sure that he was a Rotarian or guest of a Rotarian. Thank you, Mr. Edwards, for joining us this morning. Anyone else?
I think he was a guest, but I don't know if he's a Rotarian.
Oh, I thought he was in another club.
No.
Okay.
Like, he could be in ours though.
I know he visited a few times, but I was actually, I introduced him as a guest before, and I was told he's a Rotarian. Maybe he can clarify.
I used to be a member of RCNS.
Oh, you're a former Rotarian?
Yes, so certainly a pleasure to be here.
Oh.
No, he said used to be. Yeah, but you ain't a Rotarian.
Used to be.
But you're welcome to join our club if you can get up every morning at 7 o'clock.
All right, if nobody else would like to introduce.
Good morning. I don't know if somebody introduced my guest. This is Yvonne. My internet out. Dion Wilson.
Yes, thank you very much, Yvonne. Dion.
Good morning, everyone.
Welcome.
Good morning.
All righty, if there's nobody else, thank you all for joining us this morning, and I do hope you have a blessed.
Sorry to interrupt, Nima. I see my good friend Michelle Marinade is on the call. Michelle, thank you. Say good morning.
Good morning to all. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. Thank God for life.
Welcome, Michelle. I hope you enjoy this morning's program.
Back to you, President Therese.
Thank you very much, Secretary Akima. And welcome to all our guests and visiting, already visiting Rotarians. I'd like to now turn it over to our Director of Administration to give us our announcement for our raffle prize this morning. Tanisha.
Thank you, President Perez. Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. So this morning, we're going to be raffling off 2 gift certificates, and together they're valued at $125. So it's going to be a $100 Amazon gift certificate, and we'll also have a $25 gift card to the hottest art house in Nassau. So the tickets are going to be 1 for $5, 3 for $10. You can purchase your tickets in the chat. Please support the raffle. So that's 2 gift certificates together valued at $125, 100 Amazon, and the other is $25 for the hottest art house in Nassau. Please support the raffle. Thank you very much. Back to you, President Perez.
Thank you, Tanisha. Please support our raffle. Put your amounts in the chat to ensure that you're participating in our raffle this morning. All right, I turn over to our Deputy Sergeant of Arms, who's been filling in for our Sergeant of Arms, Director Patrick, to give us our jokes and fines. So I think you have a retired who wants to give a joke as well too. So I'll turn it over to you, Patrick.
Good morning, all. Okay, for fines, in memory of Sharia, we want to fine everyone that's a member of Nassau Sunrise $5. So everyone that's a member is a fine for $5 in memory of Sharia. As for the joke, there was this church had this pastor, and the pastor went to the church one day and said, "Mom, look, I need a raise." So they said, "Pastor, Mom, why do you need a raise? You don't have any kids or anything like that. You don't have a lot of responsibility." So they say, "If you have kids, then we would give you a raise." Well, that year, the pastor, they had a child, so they got a raise. Next year, they had another child, so they had to give him another raise. The next year, they had twins, so they got to get another raise. So someone said, this is getting out of hand. We need to have a meeting and discuss this. Can't keep giving the pastor a raise every year. He's having these kids. So they had a meeting, and everybody is talking. They're going back and forth. And so the pastor stand up and said, "Listen to me. Having children is an act of God." So everybody was quiet. Nobody said anything. And this 82-year-old lady from in the back of the room, she stand up, she said, "Yes, having children is an act of God." She said, "Rain and snow is an act of God also. But when we have too much of that, we wear rubbers." Mr. President.
We should ban Patrick from telling any jokes.
Well, I see that. Oh, Lord.
Amen.
Thank you, Patrick.
Let the church say amen.
Amen. Well, I think tomorrow wanted to give us a joke this morning as well.
Patrick already steal my thunder, man.
Yeah, you can do better than Patrick.
I can make an attempt because I'm trying to work my red ribbon. But coming after him is hard. Okay, and this is the first time I'm actually doing something like this. But anyway, so a woman brings a very limp duck into a veterinary surgeon, and as she lays her beloved pet duck on the table, the vet puts his stethoscope to the bird's chest and listens carefully. A moment later, the vet shakes his head and says sadly, "I'm really sorry, ma'am, but your duck Cuddles has passed away." And the woman becomes quite distressed and begins to cry. "Are you sure?" she says with tears flooding her eyes. "Yes, ma'am, I'm sure," the vet responds. "Your duck is definitely dead." "But how can you be so sure?" the woman protests. "I mean, you haven't done any testing on him or anything, have you? Perhaps he's just stunned or in a coma or something." So the vet rolls his eyes, then turns around and leaves the room. A few minutes later, he returns with a black Labrador retriever. And as the duck's owner looks on in amazement, the Labrador stands on his hind legs, puts his front paws on the examination table, and sniffs around the duck from top to bottom. He then looks up at the vet with sad eyes and shakes his head. The vet pats the dog on the head and takes it out of the room. A few minutes later, the vet returns with the cat, and the cat jumps on the table and delicately sniffs at the bird from its head to its feet. And after a moment, the cat looks up, shakes its head, meows softly, and strolls out of the room. The vet looks at the woman and says, "Look, ma'am, I'm really sorry, but as I said before this, the duck is definitely dead and it's no longer in this world. Your duck is dead." So the vet then turns to his computer terminal, hits a few keys and produces a bill, which he hands to the woman. The duck's owner, still in shock, looks at the bill and sees it is $150. $150 just to tell me my duck is dead, she shrieks with incredulity. The vet shrugs his shoulders and says, "I'm sorry, ma'am. If you'd taken my word for it, the bill would have been $20. However, with the lab report and the CAT scan, it's now $150. And if you only get that one dog, eat your lunch and cat carry your breakfast."
That's a good one, Tamara. That's a good one.
That's a
Take
good.
off your ribbon.
Yeah, take off your ribbon over that one. Thank you, Tamara. And Patrick for your jokes and fine this morning. As we will be fine in honor of our former Rotarian Sherelle this morning. As we will have no, there are any birthdays and anniversaries this morning. I'd like to open up for any announcements. First of all, before I open it up, just want to make sure that everyone, all the members know that you would have gotten your invoices or bills from our PAG Karen, our treasurer, recently. Please ensure that you act upon your outstanding bills and make sure that you settle them accordingly and as soon as possible. I'd like to open up I know P. Donnath had an announcement to make this morning.
Thank you, President Perez.
Sorry, Donna, just before you go on, there aren't, good morning all, sorry. There aren't any birthday announcement, but just before we started the meeting, I posted in the business chat that Sophia's mom is in the hospital. So if we could all remember to add her to your prayer list, please.
Yes, thank you, Gwen.
Yeah, thank you, Gwen. All right, morning again, President Perez and Rotarians and guests. I have two announcements. The first is that the board, incoming board, which is the board elect, has a vacancy created because our own chairman or director elect, Gwen, had to step down from that position. And so Article 3, Section 2(4) allows the board elect to appoint someone. I'm happy to announce that Kendrick Dames will be the person filling that position, and he will be in charge of community services. You would recall from his bio that he works very closely with the Elizabeth Estate community and has served as president of that association. So community projects and planning projects is not new to this Rotarian. So help me congratulate Kendrick Dames, the newly appointed board member. And so while I'm at it, let me just quickly, for those who would have joined us post-election, the board for 2022 to 23, president designate, that's myself, then the president nominee, which would be the president for 2023 to 2024, Dino Moss. Secretary is Kemi Jones. Incoming treasurer will remain as Karen Pindo. Our director for Rotary Foundation will be Therese, with President Therese will be IPP then. Our director for community services, Kendrick Dames. Our director for public image, Duran Humes, fairly new Rotarian as well. Director for membership will be Simone Bo. Club admin, Angelica Bastion. Youth services will be Patrick Newman. fundraising will be Yvonne Gibson-Sands, so she's quite excited about that. Our literacy chair will be Cynthia Moss, our wellness chair, Dr. Camille Grant-Taylor, our vocational services director, Danny Bethel. International services will be chaired by IPP Francis Dean, our presidential advisor, Tanya Woodside. We have a Rotary Means Business Chair, which will be Archeline O'Brien, and our Family of Rotary will be chaired by Rotarian Tamara Evans. So we have a really good slate of directors and chairs that will be leading us in the new administration. And then my last notice is if you have projects in your community, I know from time to time as we go through the year, something comes up about Girls Guides or a random project will come up, and we want to make sure that we plan carefully for those projects. So if you have a project in your community that is near and dear to you, please share that with us or with Kendrick so that we can put that on our plans. We're about to kick off our planning for the new Rotary year. And Kemi and I will be going off to the district conference for our training. And we also want to pre-plan before we go to that training. So please send on your project so that we can make some plans and have some things in place prior to going to the district conference. Thank you so much, and back to you, President.
Thank you, P. Doneth. And well wishes to all of the upcoming board and the officers for the upcoming Rotary year. And I hope you enjoy your training and get as much fruitful out of it in St. Martin. As we move along, are there any other announcements this morning? If there aren't any other announcements, I'd like to ask Director Simone Bowe to give us our Rotary Minute for this morning.
Good morning, all. Good morning. Our Rotary Minute for today is WASH Rotary Action Group. The WASH Rotary Action Group was formed in 2007 by a group of Rotarians recognized by Rotary International and focused on WASH projects. Since then, it has facilitated many hundreds of projects, helping clubs find partners, ensuring sustainability, stressing the importance of a needs-driven approach, and developing best practices. They encourage a holistic, integrated approach in which water is not the end in itself, but is rather the means to a better life and livelihood in the community. Most importantly, WASH Rotary Action Group links water and sanitation to improved hygiene, better health, and empowerment of the community, especially women, irrigation and agriculture, education and literacy, and ultimately child mortality. As a Rotary Action Group, WASH invites Rotarians from around the world to join them and engage in the battle to provide safe water, sanitation, and hygiene for all. Any Rotarian interested in supporting can get involved with their activities and be linked to global WASH assistance efforts. For more information, please visit www.wash-rag.org. And that's our Rotary Minute for today.
Thank you, Simone, for the Rotary Minute this morning. As a customary every meeting, we would like to spotlight some of our members to ensure that they are giving recognition. And this morning is no different. And we would like to invite Rotarian Tamara to give us our Rotary Minute, Rotary Spotlight for this morning.
Good morning again, Rotarians and guests. Our spotlight this morning is on our very own Rotarian Archeline O'Brien. At the forefront of the educational landscape in the Bahamas, you will find Archeline O'Brien, a spirited, high-performing, and deeply passionate leader, entrepreneur, and business partner whose smile, energy, and magnetic personality are palpable on sight. Her resolve to empower people, promote learning, drive creativity and innovation is evident in her pursuits. She believes that though it is good to celebrate winners, it is more significant to create winners. As former national coordinator of the Character Counts program in the Bahamas, she is persuaded that every person has unique abilities and skills that may lay dormant, waiting for the right environment, stimulus, or opportunity to emerge to make an incredible impact on the world. She has made it her life mission to help individuals manifest their magnificence. She founded the Nest Institute to achieve this mission, a company that provides solutions that give learners the edge they need to become their best selves. She believes the partnership with the global education giant McGraw-Hill in 2016, providing research-based, artificially intelligent, and digital resources for learners and instructors, provide the stimulus to help create academic success for all. Archeline has successfully steered a career track leading to her current role as Workforce Development Coordinator at Bahamas Technical and Vocational Institute. Archeline earned the promotion in 2019 after tremendous success as an implementer of innovative educational ideas and going through the ranks as senior educator, training manager, corporate communication officer, national project director, and Family Island Program Development Coordinator. And now a training and development tactician partnering with industry to design and direct high-quality programs to produce extraordinary employees. Archeline O'Brien's career can be tracked back to 1990, when she burst on the education scene and cultivated an environment where individuals could grow and flourish. She made this change in the environment look easy through her profound grasp of policies, procedures, processes, and planning kept by her contagious personality. Her ability to use her expertise and vitality to build people and by extension support the organization is commendable. Among her portfolio of achievements, you find the following: mathematics specialist and math coach, Master of Science in Career and Technical Education honors, semi-finalist Fulbright Scholarship 2022-2023, facilitator and director of training and development programs in hospitality, masterclass and proud, principal administrator for McGraw-Hill Digital Educational Product Training in the Bahamas and the Caribbean, presenter at Tibet Conference 2019, Jamaica. As a team leader, O'Brien is an influential communicator and a strong advocate of the successful team philosophy. As an intrinsic leader and mentor, Archeline sits on the administration committee of the LJM Maritime Academy, supporting maritime initiatives in the nation. As a corporate communication officer, she is active with the Institute of Bahamian Architect, IBA, the incumbent Rotarian responsible for the Rotary Means Business Division in the Rotary Club of Nassau Sunrise. She holds a prominent position standing as an innovative leader in education. Archeline is admired by her colleagues and respected by her community. She enjoys her incredible roles as mother and wife who lives in New Providence with roots from Crooked Island, Bahamas. Archeline enjoys a healthy and active lifestyle. Her personal life's energy is grounded in her belief that Jesus Christ is her source and her shepherd. Rotarians and guests, Archeline O'Brien.
Thank you, Tamara. That was an awesome spotlight. on Archer, and she's an awesome educator, and she will continue to do great work in our community. I'd like to now turn over to our introduce our guest this morning. We have Nicolette Gardner to introduce our guest speaker this morning.
Good morning, fellow Rotarians, guests, and guests. I would like to introduce Mr. Timothy Hodge. Tim Hodge is co-founder and president of Strata Sustainability. He has 2 decades of experience in solid waste and environmental management, the last 12 years of which have been dedicated specifically to visionary yet practical environmental solution for emerging markets in the Caribbean. After practicing mergers and acquisitions law in New York at one of the world's largest law firms in 2004, Tim returned to the family business of solid waste management, where he cut his teeth in the summers growing up by working on landfill construction crews. With his father, James, and his partners, he led a successful consultancy developing new business and logistics strategies for one of the largest solid waste companies in North America. In 2008, seeing a need and an opportunity, Tim co-founded Sanitas Partners LLC to develop critical sustainability infrastructure in the Caribbean and Latin America. Tim and his partners won public bids to design, develop, and operate projects in the Turks and Caicos Islands and the U.S. Virgin Islands. In the Turks and Caicos Islands, they remediated and successfully turned around the country's 2 underperforming public dump sites. In the U.S. Virgin Islands, they managed to design, construction, and operation of a solid waste transfer and packaging facility that received and managed all waste generated on the island of St. Croix. With Tim's leadership and vision, the facility won the Solid Waste Association of North America 2013 bronze medal as one of the best transfer stations in North America. Born of the lessons learned in these preceding endeavors, Tim co-founded Strata in 2019. His first project is the design and long-term management on behalf of New Providence Ecology Park Limited of the $40 million transformation of Nassau, Bahamas open dump from a massive public liability into a modern ecology park complete with recycling, composting, alternative energy, and a public recreation facility on reclaimed landfill property. Fellow Rotarians, please join me in welcoming Mr. Timothy Hodge.
All right, Tim, are you muted? Tim.
Sorry, excuse me. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Apologies. Sorry about that. I'm having some technical difficulties. Okay. Well, good morning again, everybody. Thank you very much. And thank you for the kind introduction. It's my privilege to be here and be able to talk about New Providence Ecology Park. Project now we've been working on for approximately, just coming up on the 3-year anniversary of what is a transformation of the old open dump site on New Providence into a modern international standard solid waste facility, but also, what we fairly describe as an ecological park, meaning a site and a location where we are able to conduct a series of green ecological activities, the primary theme of which is converting existing environmental liabilities, waste liabilities into assets. The project is a public-private partnership between the government of Bahamas and New Providence Ecology Park. The contractual arrangement is a 10-year design, build, operate, finance project where New Providence Ecology Park, at the request and at the instruction of the government, has come in and we've done a design program, a build program, and a long-term operations program, and also a financing program to conduct the changes and conduct the transformation on the site. I think everyone, unfortunately, was largely aware of kind of some of the history around the site. The landfill fires were extremely problematic and difficult. A couple issues around those beyond just the obvious nuisance and the difficulty and the health risks associated with the smoke. As that material burns, that ash that is left as a residue becomes a highly toxic substance. So that created an additional challenge on site. That's something we had to deal with and mitigate as we came in. And we were extremely pleased with the transformation we were able to conduct in a fairly short period of time. When we came onto the site day one, the site was challenging to say the least. We met 95 acres of open rubbish, of just uncovered garbage that was drying out and heating up in the sun. We did it right during the middle of the dry season as well, so the fire risk was high as we started. So we, admittedly had some very stressful days and some long nights, making sure we got things done, got things under control as expeditiously as we could. And it was extremely gratifying, but a lot of heavy lifting, a lot of heavy work. And the primary purpose of the project and what we're at, we're kind of in the tail end right now of phase 1 of the project, which is getting everything under control. And that is converting what was, once an open dump site into a properly run and managed international standard sanitary landfill, conducted and behaving and operating, both engineering, operationally and scientifically in the manner that is prescribed to run a safe, secure landfill facility. So in terms of the actual cleanup, I mean, the images, I think, speak to themselves for some degree. We call it the 3 C's. Number 1 is consolidation. Number 2 is compaction. Number 3 is cover. And so to kind of tell a narrative about what we did, when we got there, there was rubbish literally everywhere. It was spread far and wide. There were no clear roads, no clear access. So what was happening is historically people would come in and like on a wet, rainy day, people would sort of get as far as they could and they would just stop and dump. So over time, over years, that led to this, very chaotic kind of scene and program. So one of the first things we did is we consolidated everything. And what that means is taking excavators, dump trucks, and bulldozers and folding everything back, flopping everything back onto as small a footprint as possible. And what we're trying to do is, on the one hand, minimize the environmental harm, minimize the environmental risk, minimize the amount of land that might be impacted by rubbish and waste. And then number 2 is create real estate. And what I mean by that is as we were able to clean up and peel back the garbage and the thin layers of waste and the piles of rubbish here and there, we've actually created a huge amount. We're about 180 acres at this point of land we have brought back to life, meaning land that is no longer contaminated and land that's now available for some kind of subsequent beneficial reuse. Number 2 in the process was compaction. And this is a bit scientific, but I think it bears describing. There's 2 kinds of decomposition. One is aerobic decomposition, meaning a decomposition process using oxygen, and the other is anaerobic, meaning an oxygen-free decomposition process. So if you have a pile of leaves or landscape trimming in your backyard and you have a compost pile in your backyard, that is an aerobic process where you want to actively turn the air to it and you want to let that decompose and let that break down quite quickly. In a landfill, what we were aiming for is anaerobic decomposition, meaning an oxygen-free environment, which does two things. Once you get the oxygen out of it, you're able to consume that inherent or ambient oxygen, in an oxygen-free zone, you get a different set of bugs and a different decomposition process that starts to occur. That process is very cool, so it mitigates greatly the risk of fire, and it is also very slow and steady and stable. So in terms of getting the site under control, one of the big things we had to do was get to those anaerobic conditions where the decomposition process of any degradable waste that was in there is doing so now in a very controlled, cool, and steady fashion. Potentially the biggest benefit of all that, though, too, is as it decomposes that way, it creates methane. And out of that decomposition, just very natural organic process, methane gas is emitted. As part of our plan and program, we are installing a gas collection and control system whereby we will capture that methane. In the first instance, we will flare that methane. And what we'll be doing there is mitigating the emission of greenhouse gases. Methane is 28 times worse than carbon as a greenhouse gas. So for every ton of methane every ton of methane we're able to capture, we are offsetting 28 tons of carbon that's going out to the environment. So we will create a huge greenhouse gas carbon impact by just controlling, the generation of methane and also managing the emission of methane going forward over the long term. Step two of that, we're very optimistic about and very hopeful about, is somewhere between 12 to 18 months from now, since the landfill has been transformed, will be generating somewhere between 5,000 to 8,000 tons a year of methane that can be collected, cleaned, and burnt as a renewable fuel source. And we are estimating we'll be able to generate out of the methane somewhere between 1.5 and 3 megawatts of renewable power of just the gas naturally coming out of the now under control decomposition process of the waste. So that's an exciting process, an exciting thing we're looking forward to. And there's great environmental positives, but also there's this interesting ongoing, true asset to be created out of the renewable gas going forward. Step number 3, as part of the phase 1 cleanup, was cover. So we did the consolidation, the compaction. Number 3 was the cover. It was a big site that needed a lot of cover. We basically moved, covered, redesigned, re-engineered, reshaped over 200 acres of land. We imported 45,000 yards of material from off-site sources. Those were all typically dredging projects or construction projects or other areas we were able to get our hands on some additional, what was, largely waste cover. We dug and excavated a couple of ponds as part of our design program that generated about 30,000 yards of cover from on-site itself. And then the bulk of our cover material we generated from old rubbish, old garbage. As you look to, if you can see the image on the lower left, as that material, as the garbage is there, as it starts to decay, as we break it down, as we roll it over, as we track it with the excavators and dozers, we're able to break that material down into smaller sizes. And a lot of that material we can literally recycle and reuse as part of our capping program. So all in to date, we've moved about 130,000 yards of equipment, or 130,000 yards of cover material. Just for sense of scale, one dump truck holds about 15 yards of material. So it's a pretty major, pretty mammoth earthwork job that we've conducted to date. Okay, I think I hope that the images speak to themselves to some degree. The site today it's a greatly transformed site. We are very proud and pleased with it. The changes occurred. When we got there, you really couldn't traverse the site. You couldn't open the windows in your vehicle because of the flies and the stink and the smell and everything. Today we have a safe, highly controlled, strict site with strict safety regulations and policies in place. It is clean. It doesn't smell bad. You can eat your lunch, on site, and it's a very different experience now being out at the landfill, and we very much pride ourselves on that. I'd like to highlight a couple things. Probably our biggest point of pride is our safety record. When we got there, there were
Tim, we are unable to hear you. You're speaking.
I think he lost his audio. He probably
Yeah, I was trying to reach him.
having internet issues.
Yeah, I know he's not. I think he's in the United States, some in New York, somewhere. I think he mentioned.
He's calling from New York.
Yeah. Let's give him a few more minutes, a minute or so. Let's see if he's able to get back in.
All right, while we're waiting for him, can I steal this opportunity to just do a little poll? If you can enter in the chat for me, whether you're willing to get back to in-person meeting or you want to stay on Zoom for the incoming Rotary year. So if you want to do in-person, just type in-person in the chat. If you want to do a hybrid, meaning you'll come sometimes, but you'll mostly be on Zoom, please put that in the chat as well. We're thinking of having our meetings at the Margaritaville, the Point, and we want to make sure that our numbers will be enough to sustain that, because it makes no sense renting a room for 10 people. So I want to hear from all 42 of you, whether you would join us in person or you prefer to be on Zoom. If the majority wants to be on Zoom, then I guess we're forced to retain this medium. If we want to do a hybrid meeting, then that will be possible as well. But we want to make sure that the technical support is there so that we can have the persons on Zoom participating and feeling as if they're part of the meeting. It's going to require us to get up a little earlier and get to Margaritaville. So the more the merrier, and I need to give them some numbers so we can negotiate our parking rates as well. So let me know, please, in the chat. So in person, type in person, hybrid, type hybrid, stay on Zoom, type Zoom. Thank you, and I'll look at the chat later so we have a feel of what the majority would want. Hopefully our speaker gets back on soon.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I apologize. I'm having serious technical issues this morning. I just dialed back in.
All right, Tim.
Good morning. Good morning. Sorry for that.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Do you want me to continue your presentation, or you have completed?
Sure. No, I can just I can finish up. And sorry, I can't do the. I think the visual is going to glitch out again, but I'll just say a couple of things. So I think where I cut out, I was talking about our safety record, which we're extremely proud of, and our safety culture we've created and generated on site. I would make mention at this point, we have on my team, we have 3 expat experts and 2 engineers on site, but the rest of our team of 70 are all Bahamians. And we are creating a real team and a real crew of Bahamians that really have an understanding now of how international standard or how kind of modern solid waste management works and how a landfill operates and how you do so safely. We pride ourselves greatly on that. So we continue in some very intensive mentoring and knowledge sharing and knowledge transfer as we go and move forward. One of the big pieces of the project too that we are keen to sort of start in a broader scope is the education and outreach, to start to reach out to the community, and in particular schools are a huge place we like to focus. We find the kids are the ones that A, get this most quickly, but B, they're the ones that really become the enforcers. They do better than anybody in terms of making sure everyone is towing the line once they start to have a little better understanding about what the procedures are. Coming up to the future, I'm hopeful you'll see some clear announcements of all this, but phase 2 of the project entails a national recycling program. It entails an expanded composting program. It will include a household hazardous waste management program and an e-waste acceptance and handling program. So those are all parts of our project that we are going to hopefully be able to engage in more clearly and more immediately. And those will all be very positive elements of this rolling forward. I just described in closing a couple big things. What NPEP represents is critical environmental infrastructure for the Bahamas. And we're not a business, we're not a cell phone shop or an ice cream shop or restaurant or something that kind of comes and goes. This is a utility, and it's a really critical utility that is, we are biased, but we think one of the most important pieces of any sort of plan for sustainable development we're very encouraged to see the economy starting to come back, to see the growth start to occur again, and some really positive stuff on the horizon. But to our mind, absent having some of those really critical underlying infrastructure pieces in place, that development is challenged and is a bit of risk. So we're very happy to play our part, providing that, provisioning that. We are a government facility. We work in partnership with the government. And so we are truly a government utility. We are open to everybody. We, are not in any preferential arrangements with anybody. We pride ourselves on transparency and clarity, and we provide a fixed, regularized, normalized service for the people of Bahamas across the board. And we will, strive to continue to maintain that, and then continue to expand and grow our service offering and our capacity as we go forward. So it's been our privilege to be participant in the NPEP project in general. It's been my privilege to be here this morning. Thank you very much for that. I'm sorry for my technical challenges around all this, but I appreciate the chance for being here, and thank you very much.
Are there any questions for Mr. Hodge this morning?
I have a question. Morning. And I'd like to congratulate y'all, because I think y'all doing an excellent job. For someone who went to the dump before and after, I think y'all are doing an awesome job. Question: how long do you think it would be feasible to continue to use the same spot that y'all are using now?
Okay, great question. So one of the big challenges around the site historically was a lack of information. There was some very bad information and a lack of understanding about what were really coming in, what the real volumes were, and that kind of thing. So one of the biggest things, which is a little bit secondary, but critical for us and critical for the government in their planning, is really getting a handle on how much is coming in, what it consists of, where it's coming from, all the above. So to be able to answer your question, we had to gather all the information. We've done so now. We've got a very clear, very solid, very firm picture of what that is. And the simple answer to your question is 35 years. We can continue to operate safely, cleanly, and in a very organized fashion for the next 35 years at that site. Now, that's the simple answer. More complicated, more nuanced, and we think more positive is, our mandate is really to divert as much waste as possible out of the landfill. We want to start really cutting what is going in, and the way we do that is by recycling and diversion. The one thing we've started already is our composting program, which is diverting organic waste out of the waste stream. So that primarily is green waste and landscape trimmings and, grass cuttings, things like that of that nature. That can also include things like cardboard stuff that was once carbon-based. In our large-scale, big industrial program we have, we can accept and accommodate that type of material. We can also accept pallets. That can also expand at some point to food waste and food waste from restaurants. And we can see a very broad scope for that. And that can be up to 40 to 50% of the waste stream is organic material that can be composted. That's a big bite on the waste stream. Number two, we'll be rolling out a more, kind of a traditional recycling program around plastic bottles, cans, and glass. And that will be a robust, broad-based program where we will have wide acceptance of all that material. And we will have the capacity to process, sort, clean, bundle, package all that material in a safe, consistent, good, long-term way. That number is somewhere between 10 to 20% of the waste stream. And then beyond that, we would continue to hope to work with our education and outreach and with the government of Bahamas to work with them and support them in some of the very good, very progressive efforts they made. For instance, the plastic bag ban. That obviously affects very much, what is going in the garbage and what kind of garbage is getting generated. To the extent there can be more pressure and encouragement and education around people buying compostable cups or compostable plates and stop using styrofoam shells, we can really start to shrink that number of what is ending up in the landfill. As we do that, if we cut the waste stream in half, the life capacity of the landfill goes from 35 to 70 years. It's linear. So we want to get to a place, and I personally, and I'm optimistic for my kids and my family that 5, 10, 15 years from now, we as human beings will get smarter and better about using less packaging, using less stuff, and actually generating less waste. So we see a real crossroads coming up where the waste stream shrinks on the generation side, and we are better and better and better at the diversion side, and less and less and less material is going into that landfill.
Morning, Rotarians and guests. Thank you for your presentation today. I guess what you said at the end sort of ties into my question about how you're working in your formula, expansions. And, there's always projects that's coming up, especially in Providence. But you said that you expect maybe waste, and the more we become educated, waste to be decreased. Are you guys working in, for some reason, population continues to increase, more activity continues to be centralized here? How are you working into those projects that come up and those type of expansions as relates to your capacity? Also, part two, what other opportunities are being expected, or I don't know if you're forecasting out opportunities on the other items?
Sure. Well, in reverse order, we would be keen to help and assist and support the government in looking nationally at the open dumps around the whole country. This comes up on a very regular basis because a lot of our team, a lot of our crew who are now trained solid waste managers and solid waste operators are from the outer islands. And so they are keen to go home and fix their situation at home. So we've got good resources, we've got good assets. We can really leverage what was created to date to do that. So we are keen to continue that conversation and push that conversation and support that effort however we can. In terms of growth, all of our estimates have, kind of standardized CPI increases, population growth increases. We look to some additional, big developments, like maybe one of the big cruise line developers, something that might have a bigger impact. We on average now are handling 600 to 800 tons a day. We could handle up to 1,200 to 1,400 tons a day with the suite of equipment we have. Obviously some adjustments, some tweaking and tuning, but we have designed for that. We have designed for that kind of surge. I think one thing you'd appreciate that we have designed for and incorporated for is storm surge, hurricane surge. So not if, but when a storm comes, we have designed and developed capacity for us to be able to quickly deal with that, sort of shift gears and really go into a different mode while we work through that big surge of material that unfortunately is going to come. We planned for that and we worked around that. And so we feel comfortable, we feel confident we can handle both the traditional growth curve, but also some of the big, surges, which in the islands is typically more often than not can be a hurricane.
Okay, thank you. Is your education, you said you're going to be a robust plan as far as educating the public. Is it going to include or hopefully incorporate, living in the US and Canada, we had to separate our garbage into these separate bins, paper bottles, et cetera. Is that something as part of your education program and hopefully figure out how to achieve buy-in?
Yes, sir. Yeah. And I think our plan specifically is, I think, I don't want to overstate this, but, recycling is a bit of act of faith, right? And this is a common thing where people are recycling and they're putting it in the box, but they're like, well, I'm not really sure this is getting recycled, and as people start to have those doubts and concerns, which sometimes unfortunately is well-founded, we feel like that sort of breaks the spell, So we, as we roll out our program, we want to be very confident, very secure, and we want to give people a legitimate and strong sense of confidence that, when they take those extra steps, that stuff is actually going where it's supposed to go. So our approach and our program for this is to get our plan up and running, do it on a very clean pilot basis where we're very sure and very confident and very stable in our operation and our program, and then we really open up. And then our education is to say, look, this is not some theoretical thing. This is not some general thing. This is a very specific thing. If you pull the cans and the bottles apart, if you pull the paper in this pile and the rubbish in the other bag, this is where it's going. This is what's going to happen. And here is video and content and images to confirm for you that we actually are creating a true closed loop here, and this stuff is getting done. So we want to do that in a very methodical, very stable, very clean way to really confirm for people and let people know and give people faith and confidence that, the material is handled and it is worth their efforts to participate in what will be a really great new system and program.
Thank you very much for that, those comments on the recycling part. This is Dano Moss, but can you comment on the cost benefit on the recycling from a community our size? Do we have economies of scale to make this a viable outcome for you?
Well, again, we are biased, but we think this is a very smart project, and this is a very good example of a smart public-private partnership. And what I mean by that is we are in place with the government over long term on a fixed monthly fee. And we are required to provide certain services. That includes properly running the landfill, capturing the methane, capturing any fugitive liquids or leachate coming out of it, and it's also to provide recycling services. So in a very real world sense, in answer to your question, it doesn't matter. We are required to do it. We must recycle. We must do these things. We must provide those things. So I think the government's done a very smart thing in doing that and requiring that. So we will do it no matter what the conditions are, with the craziness of the world right now, everything else that affects commodity prices and who's buying what. We will provide that service. We will be there. We will be processing. We will be managing. Right now, the recycling is economically positive activity. Prices are high. There's demand for the good material and everything else. And we, for our company and our project and this project, we foresee a nice long-term stable, price point for all that. Historically, when there's a big crash, what happens is commodity prices fall apart across the board, including recycled material. And then I think to your question, it starts to become very uneconomic to be doing this kind of recycling. The way this project's set up, though, is we have guys there all day, every day. We have insurance, we have bonding, we have a standing relationship with the government, we've got our safety team, and we are doing a whole bunch of different stuff. So for us to come over and do recycling on the side or have that be a component part of our integrated operation, we can do that very cheaply. If somebody else came in and wanted to set up a freestanding recycling operation, there's a lot of costs associated with that, a lot of overhead associated with that. And it does not benefit with the synergy we have of being one big integrated program. And again, a utility type project, not a one-off sort of, money-making endeavor, but a long-term stable utility. It allows us a lot of flexibility, a lot of leeway to do things that might not be, 100% economically smart in a pure free market, but this context really allows us to do it in a very happy, healthy, sustainable way. And I say the word sustainable there, not just in the green sense, but more like this is a business that will endure. This is not a short-term thing, and this is not based on volunteers coming after work and doing stuff. This is a truly sustainable program that will stay in place over, ever after, once we get it established.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Hodge. Thanks for the great presentation. Quick question. I would imagine that the recycle program would be much easier to manage if your team was responsible from pickup from the homes or businesses to dump site. But the way I understand it, I think some of the collection is done by individual owners or operators. How will that part of the process be managed, where you receive the waste in the form that you need it to be in to be recycled properly?
Okay. So I just want to clarify again, it's kind of defining our project is our project is 100% behind the fence. And what I mean that is, our responsibility, our operation is just what happens and what occurs on site. I would say there are a lot of haulers and there's a lot of robust hauling business that is long since established on the island of New Providence. And we have no interest and no intent of getting involved with that. We think the local haulers, there's tuning to be done, there's adjustment to be made, but there is plenty of capacity for picking up the rubbish and going out and doing things. In terms of, the kind of the quality control and evolving things, we've done this in a lot of different circumstances, a lot of different contexts, and we have very successfully in the past worked with haulers. Ultimately, more control, more segregation, more clarity, and better educated customers, all the way down the chain are better for everyone. So the same way the haulers have benefited from being able to now come to a nice, clean, clear landfill where they can come in and come out and not pop their tires every time they come and not be driving through mud pits and everything, better clarity and more programmatic approach to the collection stuff will benefit them. It's a little bit of a complicated conversation, but actually it's more business for them as well, right? You know, if they're able to charge for additional services, if they're collecting recycling, if they're separating waste streams, if they're providing additional bins, all of this is an economic positive for them as the overall waste stream gets more, or the kind of waste management system gets more complicated. So our experience has been, the haulers are good partners in all of this. It benefits them. They potentially gain additional revenue from it, and our stuff is really simple as well. We really pride ourselves on having simple, clean design plans. We will share that and work collaboratively with the government, work collaboratively with the haulers, and we will work to develop a program that makes sense for everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Hodge. Thank you so much for your presentation. I just had a question regarding your recycling program. What do you foresee as the timeline for rolling it out, and will it be done in stages? Could you elaborate, please?
Sure. Our hope is by year end that we are fully up and running and totally underway. As I mentioned, what we want to do is we want to be the company, firm, and project that gets stuff established, gets stuff up and running, and then we're able to tell people about it. And we don't want to make a bunch of false promises, false starts, and say we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and we want to have it. So we're going to be careful and cautious in our rollout. I know it's frustrating to wait. We would much prefer though to have it right, have it set, have it steady before we really open it up to kind of broad release. We will do it, I think, on a pilot basis. We'll work on some of maybe some of the larger resorts, maybe some of the communities nearby the landfill. And we will, we'll experiment. We'll try a couple of things, and we'll work it out and see how this works, see how people respond to that, and we will do it step by step in a very slow, clean way. But my projection would be, and this is not totally within our control, but we'd be hopeful by year end we would be up and running and fully functioning around the recycle program.
Thank you. For this last question, comment. Thank you for your presentation this morning. I'd like to invite Nicolette to give us our vote of thanks this morning. Mr. Hodge.
Hi. On behalf of Rotary Club of Nassau Sunrise, we wish to thank you, Mr. Hodge, for joining us so early this morning to share your knowledge and accomplishments with regards to solid waste management in the Bahamas and the Ecology Park and your plans for the future. We all know the importance of this service that is crucial to our everyday lives and to the environment, and appreciate the wonderful work and the success you and your colleagues have accomplished with the Ecology Park. So our congratulations on your achievements. Wishing you all the best, Tim, and keep up the good work. And please visit us again soon. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that, and thank you very much for the kind words. That's very much appreciated and great to hear. And I would love the privilege to come back again and give an update at some point, hopefully soon. And thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
I think there was a question in the chat. Mr. Hall, one last question was, are there opportunities for volunteers? Want to volunteer and assist with the project?
He's left, but the answer is yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, BDG Felix. You now the raffle this morning drawing, Tunisia.
Thank you, President Therese. Okay, got everyone. And here we go. Congratulations. AG Carlisle will be in touch with you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, AG Carlisle. And to close out our meeting this morning, I would like to invite Terry and Ellsworth to give us our 4-way test this morning.
Good morning, all.
Morning.
Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth?
Is it the truth?
Is it the truth?
True.
Is it fair to all concerned?
Is it
Is it
fair
fair
to
to
all
all
concerned?
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it build
goodwill?
Friendships.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you, Ellsworth. And now our final toast by Rotarian Marsha.
Morning, fellow Rotarians and guests, please raise your cups, your mugs, your water glasses, and to Rotary around the world.
To Rotary around the world. Thank you all for coming out this morning. It was a great meeting this morning, and wish you all a blessed day and a wonderful rest of the remaining of your week. Please stay back if you want for our breakout rooms. Those who want a fellowship. I don't think we'll be too long this morning because of the time, but just want to make